This is an interview for Historic Madison Incorporated of two sisters, Florence Whitefield and Gertrude Bremer, about their memories of the Williamson Street area when they were young. You want to start, Florence, with some of your memories of the Williamson Street?
Which one?
Start with the brewery and work. You could just leave it there.
What was the 6, 7? In the 700 block, there was the General Paper Company, and then the Madison Candy Factory was in the middle of the block. And on the corner was the Horsemeyer's Pop Bottling Factory, which made all the pop for Madison at that time. And across the street was a little grocery store. In the 800 block, there was Drives Coal Company. And across the street from there was a plumbing store. And next door was a painter. And on the end of the block was Breitenbach's grocery store and saloon. And across the street was another saloon, and on the corner a barber shop, which had been there for years and just closed up a few years ago. In the 900 block, there was Jordan's Meat Market. And across the street was the Dickert Shoe store. And next door the Vogel family lived. Mr. Vogel had a carpenter business and had his own shop next door. There was also a bakery, and next door was our family lived. My dad ran a little grocery store, and my mother had boarders. Across the street was a hardware store, and a little ways down was the dentist, Bergman Dentist. And the next block was, I can't just remember it. Well, the 1000 block had another shoe store run by Mr. Quilts. Across the street was a building, I can't recall exactly what was there, but I remember the Holy Rollers had programs there in the basement, and as youngsters we used to watch through the windows. And the end of that block was another grocery store, I can't remember the name, and across on the opposite corner was the Atwood's Pharmacy. 1100 block, I can't remember too much, but 1200 block there was Beglinger's grocery store, and the original, one of the original theaters, movie theaters, 5-cent theaters. And just beyond that was the fire station, which is still there. And as children, when I went to Marquette school for first grade and 7th and 8th grades, we used to watch the fire horses go out.
Ooh.
It was very interesting to watch them and to pet them.
Did you go to the movies?
I'm sure we went to the movies and saw Pearl White series.
You went every Saturday if you had a nickel?
Yeah.
No, it was in the evening.
Oh.
My mother took it.
Oh.
But I think the original theater was on Baldwin Street, just north of Williamson. And that was a nickel theater, and there were silent movies run by one family. One daughter was a cashier, one played the piano, one sang, and the son ran the projectors.
That was a good family.
Well, from there on, I don't.
Um,
Also, in the 900 block, there was a blacksmith.
Did you watch him work?
Oh, sure, we watched him work.
He had outdoor fire and tools?
No, he had a little shop that made everything, and he lived next door in a little house,
Did horses come for shoeing, or
Oh.
was it just metalwork?
metalwork.
I see.
And he made horses too.
I suppose he did. But do you remember
Well-
horses coming in?
No, we always took our horse up to Carmen's on
Oh.
South Blair Street to have the horses shod. We had a horse.
You had a horse?
Yeah.
And a buggy?
Oh, sure, a sleigh.
And when did you use those?
Well, we didn't use them too often because my dad only had one leg, and so we didn't go out too often. But we had a little exercise place to let the horse out every day, and we used to love going in.
So the horse was in a building right behind your house?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Were there any other outbuildings behind the house? Sheds?
Yeah,
or-
attached to was a little chicken coop.
Oh,
Mother raised her own chickens, and we always had chicken on Sunday. And she'd kill her own chickens on Saturday and get them ready.
how great. And fresh eggs, I'll bet.
A few, a little garden in between the house and the chicken coop.
Sure. And do you remember something about what your grandparents did and your parents?
Well, my grandfather really owned that place that we lived in later on. He built that home. And he was a stone cutter and helped cut the stones for the old original Madison post office, which stood where Manchester's store was. And I can remember the old city hall was across the street where Woolworth's store is now.
My goodness.
Better shut it off. Well, I'll start. My dad was born in the 1000 block on Williamson Street in 1858. And after the Civil War, there was an orphan's home built up on the corner of Harvey Terrace and Taylor Place, on which property we later built a home. And my grandmother used to help out at this orphans.
Hmm.
I can't.
And your mother,
Well-
your mother also did some baking, didn't she?
Well, I was going on to.
All right.
My dad originally ran the Northwestern Hotel immediately across from the old Northwestern station from 1888, I think, till 92, and he moved to McFarland and worked for Edwards Brothers making harnesses for horses. And at the same time, they rented bought us quite a large home there, and Mother ran a sort of a restaurant. It was called a hotel, Wekesser Hotel, and they rented rooms and Mother served meals. Well, in 1906, my dad was out hunting for ducks, and his dog jumped in the boat ahead of him, and he didn't want to point the gun at the dog, and as he pushed it in, he hit the hammer on the seat, and it exploded and hit him in the leg.
Mm.
Well, evidently they had to bring him into Madison, which is 14 miles in just a wagon with hay.
Oh, dear.
And it was a little hospital at that time, and Dr. Gill took care of him. They wanted to operate and take the leg off below the knee, but he said no. He thought he could save it. In the meantime, gangrene set out, so he had to have the whole leg amputated, which left him only 3 inches of a stump. Of course, he had to give up his harness making, and they came back to Madison and took over my grandfather's home. In the meantime, my grandmother had died, whom I never knew. So they added on a small addition in the front and had a little store. So Mother took in some boarders and did a lot of baking for the store and for outsiders. I can remember when John Findorf lived on State Street near the university. He used to drive way out in an open car with to get coffee cakes. And I also delivered coffee cakes to the original Dr. Miller, who lived in the 700 block on Williamson. There was also a knitting factory in the 700 block. run by a family. They had their own machines there, and they made all kinds of sweaters.
My word. And could you go in and buy a
Sure,
sweater?
we used to buy our sweaters there.
That's wonderful. Didn't have to go to
We
the
better
store.
shut it off. I'm getting hoarse.
Gertrude, do you want to talk a little bit about schools and children's
Well,
things?
I went to Harvey School too, and as I remember, the principal was Miss Parsons, and she was also principal or teacher when Florence and Marie were in school. So, if anything ever happened, why, she'd always bring up what my sisters had done.
She also taught this in 6th grade.
And I remember going to the theater once a week. Mother would take us to see the Pearl White series. And I also remember when Ringling Brothers Circus would come to town, they used to have parades, and they would go by our house. They'd go by on Williamson Street.
How wonderful.
That was always a thrill.
Very exciting.
And I remember once in a while we'd have the German band that would come, and they would play in front of our house.
Oh, did people donate at that time? Did they?
I
Do
don't
it to raise
remember
money?
if they, I suppose they gave them money,
Yeah.
but I was so small I don't remember. All I remember hearing them play.
Uh-huh.
And also worked in the grocery store that my folks had, and I took care of the candy counter.
Oh, nice.
And I'd have to clean the windows and the candy jars and things every week, fill up the candy trays, and also did some of the ordering. So when the new salesman would come around, why, he'd always give me some samples of candy because he wanted me to order from
That's
him.
right. You'd like that, you'd order it.
And we used to play games on the corner, and we were always had to come home before dark. And if we didn't know what time it was, they said, well, when the policeman comes along, then you come home. That was the time to come home.
I can remember when the Capitol burned early in the morning. I don't remember 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. There was an awful noise, bells ringing, or I imagine. So we got up to find out. We heard the Capitol was burning. So I was only 6 years old, and Mother took me up. We watched it burn. And of course, there were crowds of people around the Capitol
Right,
at that
and
time.
lots of firemen.
All the firemen there were in the city at that time trying to put it out.
Sure.
Later on, we used to watch them building. And when I went to high school, old Madison High School, we used to cut through the Capitol in the wintertime, especially going to,
Yes.
we always had to walk to school. And, but we were never allowed to walk on the grass around the Capitol in those days. Now they have let cows on there and everything else. It really was a beautiful
Building.
building, and the grounds were kept up very well.
And you went through to keep warm.
Yes.
Yes.
And also we used to have to walk home. We used to stop in the Northwestern station to keep warm.
Sure. And then wasn't there a little Milwaukee road station
Yeah, across the,
on King Street?
where the new John Nolen Drive starts now,
Yeah.
was the old East Madison St. Paul station.
Did you go to 4th of July celebrations?
Yeah, they used to have something up at the Capitol Square. I don't remember very much, but I know they had fireworks out on a raft on Lake Monona at the foot of Monona Avenue. And they would come out after dark. One year, somehow, they all went off at one time, and whoever's operating the
Raft?
raft of the fireworks jumped in the water, so no one was injured. But that was the end of that celebration.
And did you go out to some of the amusement parks? The Sunday school or anybody?
Well, they had Winnequa Park, which was way out on the east side, and they had a big pier there. And we used to go swimming, and we'd go out for the whole day and have picnic lunches.
Great.
But
Was that Lake Monona or Lake Mendota?
yeah, no, Lake Monona.
Monona. So it was it took a long time to get there, didn't it?
Yeah, we had to go out by the streetcar.
Streetcar. It was at the end of the line?
Not quite.
Oh, yeah.
A few blocks beyond that was the car barns.
Oh, that was the end.
Yeah.
I know in Washington one of the lines ended at an amusement park. And when did the buses come in? Do you remember?
No, I can't remember exactly when the buses started.
It's in the late 20s, I'll bet.
No, I think it was earlier than that. Remember those picnics at all?
No, I don't remember the picnic. I remember Sunday school or church picnics that we'd go. Everybody would take a lot of food, and then you'd eat at one table, and everybody'd pass everything around. But I can't remember what park it was.
Held in.
But I do remember in the summer we used to go to Tenney Park to swim in the afternoon, and early spring we'd pick wildflowers on the way.
Nice.
We'd walk over there, but that was cool to go swimming there. I don't remember going swimming in Lake Monona too much. We used to always go to Tenney Park. I don't know why.
Did you ever go ice skating?
Oh yes, we'd go ice skating on Lake Monona. And there used to be ice house. It was beyond Fauerbach's Brewery, and they would sell hot chocolate, and
nice.
they'd have cookies and a few things. So we'd go out skating, and then of course we'd get cold and hungry, and we'd come in and rest for a while and have hot chocolate. Then we'd go out again. And I remember after Christmas, they'd collect a lot of the Christmas trees, and they'd put them around sort of a path. And once in a while, if somebody had an ice boat, they'd take us for a ride on the ice boat, which was
It's a bumpy
had a
ride.
sail on it, and we'd go out on the ice. But of course, in the spring, you had to watch out for the cracks.
Right.
And I remember one time Marie and her friend were out on the lake, and she fell in a crack,
Ooh.
and which frightened Marie, and she would never go swimming or anything like that afterwards. She was always afraid of the water.
Right.
But I never saw anything like that.
And where did you go to high school?
I went to Central High, and at the time when I went to Harvey School, we had 7th and 8th grades there, and we went to Marquette School for home economics, for cooking and sewing and things like that. But then I went to Central High, graduated from there.
Mhm.
And
So at Harvey School, you got to get out and take a little walk and go to Marquette School for these other classes.
right,
That was
yeah,
kind of
that
nice.
that was always fun to go for the classes.
Sure.
That was only once a week, though.
Oh, not every day.
No, just once a week.
You're wasting.
Good turn.
Did you have any adventures in the winter with sleds or toboggans?
Yes, I can especially remember going down Wisconsin Avenue on toboggans,
Right.
all the way down Wisconsin to Johnson, then we turn on Johnson and get down to Hancock Street.
There weren't too many cars to be
No, there
worried
weren't
about.
cars in those days. And one boy had a small car that used to pull the toboggan back up
Up the hill.
to Wisconsin Avenue again.
How neat.
Those were good rides.
I'll bet they were, and good and icing too.
Sure. Oh, we were kids too. We used to play at the corner of Paterson and Williamson. And we played pump, pump, pull away, hide and seek. And then in the winter too, there was kind of a steep block. And we used to slide down that street. And right at the corner there where Breitenbach's had their store was a pump. So the boys would get pails of water and pour it on the hill so it was real icy.
Oh my word. So you really went fast. Did you go way out to the railroad track?
Yeah, just about.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Do you remember trains in those days?
Oh, yes.
Were
trains.
they frequent?
Oh, yes. Well, just about a block behind us on Brearly Street was the old roundhouse where they used to take care of the engines.
Oh, and do repair.
Doing repair work.
And then there was a lot of freight going through there, wasn't there?
Yes.
And passenger trains, too.
And I remember during World War I, my dad used to give us cigarettes, and when the soldiers' trains went through, we used to go down and hand them into the boys on the window when they stopped there for a few minutes.
How nice.
Or candy, whatever.
Yeah, I bet they were appreciative. And did you use the train to go to visit anybody? Or I guess all your relatives were here.
No, I had an aunt and uncle had a farm between Black Earth and Cross Plains. And several summers I used to go out there to visit them. We took the train to Cross Plains, and they'd meet us with their horse and buggy and go back.
That's wonderful.
And spend a few days.
It was exciting too, wasn't it?
And then when they had the old fairgrounds where the Coliseum is now, we used to get a train at the old East Side Madison station
and go to the fair.
Go to the fair.
That
was a treat.
Yes, right. I remember those old fairgrounds. And they had the horse races and all such a thing.
Oh yeah, they used to have what do they call them? Harness racing.
Right.
And my dad always had a stand out there.
Oh, did he?
They'd sell hamburgers mostly, was one of the big, and then Cracker Jack.
And who would cook these hamburgers, your mother?
Yeah, I guess she did. Or
Well, I think we had extra help.
Oh, that would help out.
Help out, yeah. I remember I was just a little kid and I didn't do much because I was too young to do anything, but I'd go out there and I'd be there and they'd let me wander around because people knew who I was, so I never did get lost. But we had quite a big stand and did a lot of business. It was hard though. You had to take everything out with horse and buggy, your supplies. And you rented your space, and they had the same space
each
for
time.
Several years.
Yeah.
Till it was too much work for Mother too, because she would cook a lot of things ahead of time and bake a lot of things ahead of time and serve pie and cake and probably donuts. Besides the sandwiches that they served.
Right.
But I do remember the horse races, watching them.
And weren't there big displays of fruits and vegetables, canned goods?
Oh, yes, they had different buildings for
Quilts.
different things.
Yeah.
And canned goods and jellies, and they give prizes for first, second, third prize.
Yeah.
and I guess they had a merry-go-round, didn't they?
Well, they always had a merry-go-round, Ferris wheel. They didn't have as many things like they do now. It's probably had a few of these where you throw the hoop and things like that.
Win a Kewpie doll. Or
right.
Yeah.
But when I remember, they didn't have that many concession stands. It was mostly food stands and that.
Wild Bill Buffalo.
Do you have any memories of the circus coming to town?
Oh, yes. We used to get up early to watch them unload They used the elephants for pulling all the wagons off of the cars, freight cars.
And that it was right in the railroad yard near your house?
Yeah, about 2 blocks away.
Wonderful.
Then later on, we'd go out and watch them set up the big tent, which was located way out on East Washington Avenue. And then later at night, when the circus was over, we'd go back and watch them load up. Of course, we always got to the circus.
You never got to ride on an elephant, did you?
No, I was afraid to do that.
Yeah. And you saw some of the Wild West shows that came to town?
Yeah, I saw Buffalo Bill once. I was a real youngster. I went with my brother, and that wasn't too far out from where we lived also. And, oh, how he could shoot. Never missed an object that was thrown in the air.
That's wonderful. Just moving objects, not just a target.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,